Hi everyone, welcome back to another anatomy video. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at the cardiovascular system. So a lot of the histology of the heart and as well as the blood. So please like and subscribe for more content. And now we're going to get into the first topic, which is blood histology. So obviously you have your regular erythrocytes, which are all of these like purple looking dots that are surrounding the picture. Then we have the monocyte. This is kind of like your biggest cell over here. This is a type of leukocyte. So, leukocytes are considered to be white blood cells and they help with your immune system, so fighting against pathogens. So the monocyte is going to be rather big, while the neutrophil, which is another type of leukocyte, is going to have a very interesting irregular shaped nuclei. The dark blue portion over here is your nuclei. It looks a little bit like a crescent moon, and then you can see the cytoplasm around it, which is the light blue area. Then you have your lymphocytes, again, another type of leukocyte. Lymphocytes are typically very round, very circular, and they are going to be completely dark blue. So, unlike the neutrophil, which can have multiple nuclei within it and an irregular shaped nuclei and then a cytoplasm, the lymphocyte is just completely dark blue. You cannot see the cytoplasm very much. Finally, there is thrombocytes. Thrombocytes are their own classification. They are also known as platelets. So they help to kind of create blood clots if you ever have a cut on your arm or just on your body anywhere. Thrombocytes are is what going to help stop the bleeding. So there are these tiny little dots over here. These are all thrombocytes. All right, moving on, we're going to look at some cardiac muscle histology. The first thing you need to know is these intercalated discs. They're going to be these vertical little lines. So over here is one, here's another, here, there's one here as well. And they basically kind of just break up the cardiac muscle. Then you have the nuclei. So these little circles, that is one, a nuclei over there. There's another nuclei here, here, and here. Now, a singular cardiac cell is basically just going to be kind of like all of these little striations are cardiac cells that make up the cardiac muscle. Now we're going to look at some artery histology. So you have three different tunicas. The first tunica and the most interior tunica is your tunica interna, which is kind of like this black little squiggly line area over here in the center. Then, where you have a lot of smooth muscle tissue, that is going to be your tunica media. So, arteries typically have a thicker tunica media and they're going to be very circular shaped. Tunica externa slash adventitia on the other side is going to look a little bit more light pink, more wispy, and it's not as a condensed color. You can see that there's little splotches of white and black mixed in with the pink. Finally, within the center of this artery, the very center area, this is known as your lumen. Now, this is a vein, so this one was an artery, this is a vein. You can tell that the tunica media is a lot thinner on veins, and they also look a little bit more smushed. They're not as perfectly circular. So they still have the tunica interna, which is kind of like this dotted line area, the very center of the vein. Then we have this very thin patch of smooth muscle tissue that is your tunica media. And finally, the tunica externa or adventitia is over here where it becomes lighter pink. It's more broken up. You can see some adipose tissue here on the side and also over here. And that is how you know that it is the tunica adventitia because it is going to be right next to the adipose tissue. Similarly, you also have the lumen in the center of the vein. So, if you ever get asked on a test, how can you tell the difference between veins and arteries? Veins are more smushed and they have a thinner tunica media, aka less smooth muscle tissue, while a artery is a little bit more round with a thicker tunica media. All right, now we're going to look at a dissected heart. So, for the heart, there's a couple things you need to know. First, you have your aorta. This portion over here is your ascending aorta. Then you have three different little arteries that are going to branch off of the aorta. First, you have your brachiocephalic artery. Then the left common carotid artery is going to be in the center. And finally, the very last one is your left subclavian artery. You also have your pulmonary arteries. So the pulmonary arteries are going to go both right and left. You can also see them over here. These are your pulmonary arteries. Connecting the aorta to the pulmonary arteries is this ligament called the ligamentum arteriosum, and it basically kind of just keeps them connected to one another so that they're not moving around a lot. Then you have your superior vena cava. Superior vena cava is going to go into the right atrium. You also have your inferior vena cava. You can see the hole over here on this side. So the right atrium is covered by the auricle. You also have an auricle on your left atrium. You can see it kind of over here, that little flap over there. That is the auricle. Now you have your coronary sulcus. Coronary sulcus is going to be this area within the coronary artery where it kind of just becomes a little bit thicker looking, and that is why they named it the sulcus, because it's the thicker region of that vessel over there. Now you have your right ventricle, which is going to be this patch over here. So then blood is going to go up the pulmonary trunk through the pulmonary arteries to the lungs. It's going to come back, and then your blood is going to go to the left atrium. You can also see your left coronary artery, which begins over here, and then it starts to go down. The right coronary artery, therefore, is on the other side over here. You also have the interventricular sulcus, which is on the left coronary artery, and it's this region where it becomes a little bit thicker looking. Finally, the left ventricle is on the side of the apex where the heart comes to a point. So here is your left ventricle. All right, now looking over here, again, it's a lot of the same stuff. You have your pulmonary veins, though. Pulmonary veins are going to be these openings over here, and they're going to be under the pulmonary arteries. Now, the pulmonary veins are going to bring blood back to the heart. You have your great cardiac vein, which is this huge vein over here in the back, and this really thick part in the middle is your coronary sinus. You can see your left ventricle again. It's over here again on the side where the apex would be. All right, now we're going to look at a coronal cut of the heart, aka basically if you just take the heart and cut it down the middle. So within the heart, you can see the cusps of the right atrioventricular valve, aka your tricuspid valve. So here is going to be your tricuspid valve. Then you have your chordae tendineae, which are these little stringy structures, and they're going to be connected to papillary muscle. The papillary muscle is this kind of like whitish portion over here that you can see. You can also see papillary muscles projecting up over here. They kind of look like little triangles, and you can see that the chordae tendineae is connected to it. So these larger openings over here, these are your ventricles. So you have your right ventricle on this side, left ventricle on this side. The interventricular septum is a thick piece of smooth muscle that separates the right and left side so that you don't have oxygenated and deoxygenated blood to mix. So deoxygenated blood is typically going to be on the right side of your heart, and then oxygenated blood is going to be on the left side of your heart. From the left ventricle, the blood is pushed up through the aortic semilunar valve. It goes up the aorta to these three branches. Depending on where the blood is trying to reach, it can take a different route out of these three different arteries. So you also have your mitral valve, which is on the um, left side. It is also known as your bicuspid valve. One great way to remember the difference between the tri versus bicuspid valve is try the clothes on before you buy them. So try before you buy, aka meaning that the tricuspid valve comes first and then it's the bicuspid valve on the left side. All right, very last thing we're going to look at is some abdominal blood vessels. So the first one is going to be your inferior phrenic arteries, which are going to be right over here. They're very tiny. Then you have your suprarenal veins. Suprarenal veins, you can see two of them over here on the side. You can also see one projecting up over here. These ones are typically by your kidneys, so you can see your kidney over here, and then you can see the suprarenal vein, which is how they get their name. Then the suprarenal artery is basically the same, except it's going to be in red. So veins are in blue, and arteries are in red. Then you have your renal vein. It's going to be this blue one that is coming into the kidney. This structure that has been cut in half. This is your kidney, and it's blue, therefore we know that it is the vein. If you look at number 13, this is your renal artery, so it's also going to the kidney, but it is red, therefore an artery. Now at number 5 over here, this is your gonadal vein. And number 6, the one in red, is your gonadal artery. Then you have your common iliac artery and vein, number 7. So these ones over here. This is the first area where they start to branch off. So you have your abdominal artery over here in red, and then it branches off into the common iliac artery, and then in blue, vein. Now you have your femoral artery in 8. Over here, this red one, this is where it starts going into the thigh region. The thigh region, and therefore it is your femoral artery. Number 9 is your internal iliac vein. So this one right over here. Your left gonadal artery and vein is going to be 10. So they're very kind of like intertwined over here, and you can also see them on the other side. Inferior mesenteric artery is going to be this one over here, kind of comes across the abdominal artery. Your left gonadal vein, as I said again, it's going to be this one over here on your left side. And then I've already pointed out the renal artery in 13 is the red one leading to the kidney, and your superior mesenteric artery is just going to be this guy right over here. That is very close to the renal vein, this blue structure over here. All right, so that is everything for the cardiovascular system for now. I am going to make another video going over a heart model chart, so I hope you guys go and look out for that. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave it in the comment section. Also, if you would like some extra anatomy tutoring, I also offer that, so please feel free to check that out. Just comment in the comment section, and I will reach out to you guys with some resources. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!